just like currently on jobs, where you have black people who are snitching on other black people, telling white people, seeking to gain favor with white people by harming other black people on the job. Tragically, that takes place. And so I would say, instead of getting angry and just having anger at the other black person, understand the system and how the system cultivates that kind of behavior, and decide that you yourself are not going to engage in hate, that you're not going to engage in negative behavior towards other black people, but that you're going to practice the behavior code that Neely Fuller lays out, where he says stop name-calling one another, stop gossiping about one another, stop cursing one another, stop squabbling with one another, stop snitching on one another for reasons of personal gain, stop being discourteous to one another, stop being disrespectful, stop stealing from one another, stop robbing one another, stop fighting one another, stop killing one another. And so those they may be difficult behaviors to begin to incorporate, but do it one at a time. You see, in understanding, like when a minority seeks to control a majority, it's by divide and conquer. And so it's like training black people to demean themselves and to demean and degrade one another. And that's why, the system pays millions of dollars to entertainers who will use the language nigger, bitch, hoe, gangster, thug, freak, putting that kind of language and calling it entertainment and putting it on a beat. That's like psychological warfare, because anybody who is taking in negative language about themselves or images of themselves, image of other people who are a reflection of themselves, are destroying their self-image. Their self-image, their self-concept is simultaneously being destroyed. So I say racism, white supremacy, plus black self-hate equals black genocide. And so this is going on. So, being aware that great damage has been done to us as black people by the system of racism, white supremacy, and the damage being done is continuous. But being aware of it and deciding that you are going to counter it versus being trapped into it by engaging in those behaviors that Neely Fuller has talked about. I've added to that list, and I call the behaviors exercises in black self-respect, exercises in black mental health, exercises in countering racism. And I've added to that, stop using and selling drugs to one another. Stop throwing down trash where black people live, work, and play. Stop making black children think that as children they can be adequate mothers and fathers. Stop pretending that racism, white supremacy does not exist. Stop believing in welfare and believe in prosperity, and do not allow racism, white supremacy to cause division between black, brown, red, and yellow people. And one can also say, stop allowing the dynamic of racism, white supremacy causing friction between different black individuals, one another. But in other words, if you are aware of the dynamic of racism, white supremacy, then you consciously work to not have conflict between the victims of racism, white supremacy, as you're focusing on the problem that is presented by the system of racism, white supremacy.